like taking Dragon Ball and pushing Toriyama into like darker places with like the Frieza, Cell, particularly the Cell saga and everything. But at its core, Toriyama's always been a gag manga artist, and this is totally right up his alley. So I'm very satisfied with the finish. Yeah, it would have been cool to see some of that stuff, but yeah, it is what it is. I feel like you really have to be someone who understands Toriyama work to understand why this ending fits so well compared to the big giant epic finishes that we get and stuff like that. So it made me laugh. It was, I did not expect it to end that way, but when it did, I'm like, yep, that's Toriyama for you. So yeah, I did enjoy it and everything. It's from like there, and I love the urgency from Gomah. What I will say though is I was like, for as hyped as his third eye is and how strong it is, it took a weakling like Gomah, and look how powerful it made him and kept making him stronger. I'm like, that's how easily it is to be defeated. He just steps on it and it's gone. Like, okay. I'm like, wow, okay. I'm like, I didn't imagine that the third eye was so easy to defeat. So only when it's in its user. I was also hoping maybe more of a story that the third eye is too much to control, but the third eye is very loyal to whoever puts it in there. It really had Gomah's back. It kept making him regenerate and all that stuff. So yeah, and there you go. From there, and you see Piccolo and Vegeta completely shocked, and you see Bluma, aka Boma, and Pansy running Glorio, and from there you see they're happy, and you see Majin Ku flies down to the ground like, yep, I did it. I'm the one that did it. I beat Gomah. I beat the third eye. Well, Goku did all the work, but there you go. Gomah did. There he is. Majin Ku looking so proud of himself. So there you go, man. They were that screwed. But if he was able to do that, I just had to imagine Goku could have done that. But yeah, it is what it is there. And you see that they're like, huh? And he's like, and he's like, what? Why can't I finish things? And they said, yeah, you were amazing, Majin Ku. And you see Bluma, Boma, aka Boma, East Kyle Shin. They're like, yeah, you did it and stuff. And everybody's giving him that recognition, you know. And they're like, well done, friend. You know, Majin Ku, the guy that seemed like he was nothing but a whack-looking character, because Toriyama absolutely did design him to be whack, just so that way he can go ahead and go against all our expectations and prove that, yeah, just because you look whack doesn't mean that you end up being wacky in terms of or not doing some incredible things that are not whack or whatever. And here, I mean, I guess I missed this off screen. The right hand woman of King Kaden, aka King Kaden, however you say his name, has already formed a special handshake with Majin Du and stuff and everything. So that was really cool to see. And yeah, I mean, they're like, okay, like, all right. I was like, when did this bond happen off screen like that? That's something that they just made. And you see Neva right there, happy. Even Tamagami 1 is smiling on there. And there you go. I mean, how can you not be happy for Majin Ku? He's a true story of a person that seemed like they were going to be a reject, but they ended up turning into a big true hero. And this part was really cool right here that I did enjoy. He walks up to Dr. Arensu and, you know, says, Arensu-sama. And she's right there, and she ends up elbowing him, giving him a light elbow jab to the chest, and he ends up smiling. And I like this moment because it always seemed like Dr. Arensu was kind of like, oh, well, you're the disappointment in the family. She's like, you're the disappointment, that child that she's like, oh, you're such a disappointment, which would be terrible, right? But Majin Ku really worked hard to earn Arensu's to get recognition from Arensu, and it's like he finally earned her recognition and stuff and everything, and like he's proud, because, you know, kids just want to make their parents proud and stuff like that. So that's kind of what it came off in this moment here. So that was cool to see in going on right here. And then you had Pansy just being happy, and they're all waving there at SS4 Goku. Seeing this design, by the way, I will say, I think the four hands, the forearms and the big muscles, I mean, well, the big forearms and the big hands, man, I think they're like a little bit too big. Right, a little too big, basically, for the form. Like, I think they could be downsized a little bit more, but I still like the form there. I don't even know what the purpose of the pants are, if he needs to wear the belt buckle or whatever for the pants. So yeah, and you see everyone is just happy. Goku, he did his job. We're getting that real happy ending that we see. It's like, wow, it's crazy to see all this, not after some big giant battle, but rather we get this after the Majin coup finish that nobody saw coming, and Goku, he just ends up, his last line in SS4 is looks like it worked out. And Piccolo's like, yeah. And there's Vegeta, like, because he's thinking, like, how did Kakarot get that Super Saiyan 4? And so right there, we get our last shot of SS4 Goku, and we end with him smiling there. All right, I'm gonna take a water break before we continue on here. All right, we have some new people in the chat. Baseball Pro, nice. I like the energy. Thank you. Leon Brown says, "Breathe, my guy." He must be talking about my energy and how excited and energetic I get and everything. Don't worry, I get plenty of breathing in, that's for sure. And so there we go with Gomah looking on. Basically, that was a short rule. Yeah, they're like basically trolling him at this point. That was a short rule, and he's like, "How dare you? I'm the Supreme Demon King." And he says, "Are you thought?" And he's like, "I thought you were senile." And here you have Marba and Arensu, and they said you can repent for the next 100 years in here. And he's like, "What?" And he goes like, "But I didn't kill Dente." No, Piccolo, he ends up going like, "But he didn't try to kill Dente." And he's like, "Right, I'm a good guy at heart." And he's like, "We'll make it 99 years. And he's like, "What? Don't do it." And so from here, Dr. Arensu, I don't know, she starts smoking something there that sends the energy right out next to Gomah, and it is, of course, Degasu, and they've got him wrapped up in all this purple bubblegum look up, and he's like, "Huh?" And he's like, "Let's include Degasu so he has some company." And so Marba's like, "Splendid idea." And so this is pretty much the Mafuba, which was of course a big deal back in Dragon Ball when Muten Roshi, aka Master Roshi, tried to take Piccolo Daima, aka King Piccolo, and it was brought back in Dragon Ball Super, of course, when they forgot about trying to use it against Zamasu, aka also Goku Black. And so they end up going ahead and it forms all around them, and there you go, Gomah and Degasu, total, like I said, based on the Mafuba, goes right into this jar, and they are sealed, and that's all she wrote for them. And they said it's snug in there, but it's pretty nice, isn't it? And Goku's trying to look at it. He's retrieved his power pole, of course, and he's like, it has a small garden and all sorts of games for them, and they're like, you can hear them just rambling, not enjoying that they have to spend the next 99 years here. And so there you see Dr. Arensu completely happy about this, says Gomah and Degasu are out of the picture and stuff. I didn't know they had that type of pull, honestly. Marba and Degasu, they can decide punishment and send who to jail or whatever, so they lock them all up in there. And so from here, the question is asked, who will be the next Supreme Demon King? And it's right here. Nadare suggests his sister. Why don't you take on the role? She mentions that she's higher ranking than all their rivals. And it's from here, basically, she says, because Nadare mentions that that's what she wanted. And she's like, huh. She says, I didn't expect that from you. And he says, I realize that you retain a silver of conscience. and she goes like, what a disgusting thing to say. And you could tell, like I said, from their moment interaction, you could tell that Nahare obviously has a much better relationship with his sister than he did with his brother. Apparently she looked like she wasn't too fond of their brother either, Degetsu and stuff. And she's like, let me be clear. And this totally reminds me of what Frieza, aka Frieza, said at the end of Dragon Ball Super when they gave him his life back. She says, my ambitions hasn't changed one bit, and says a terrifying demon world that rivals the outside world. And it's from there, she says she refused, though, and says if she became the Supreme Demon King, gaining magic powers from the Dragon Balls, she'll end up getting overthrown by someone else. We got somebody in the chat here. Oh yeah, Matthew says Demon King Majin Ku, and average CAI user says hello, hello monkey. Right, the classic line from Frieza and all that stuff. I was so funny in Dragon Ball Super when he came down from the Dragon Balls and he basically tells all the Saiyajins, he's like, ho, 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 hello monkeys. Well boy, if Frieza would have ever fought SS4 Goku, just imagine the monkey references you would have got on there. And then from there, he said, yeah, she says she just ended up getting overthrown, and that's where Neva says, that's it. The one who defeats the Supreme Demon King is the first in line to succeed them. And they're like, huh? And everybody's like, huh? And they're looking at each other. And then I love how everybody flips over to Majin Ku and said, the one who defeats the Supreme Demon King? And Ku's like, oh, me? And they're like, huh? And he's like, I see, it's me. And he's like, okay, I'll do it. I'll be the Supreme Demon King. And so he ends up forming this cape on the back, and there you go. This was cool, actually. If you follow, those of you out there that follow Geekdom 101, one of the most well-researched and knowledgeable Dragon Ball fans out there, he actually had, when he was doing his leaks and everything, this is one of the leaks that he showed that the Majin Ku character would have this cape. So man, that really shows like, oh wow, that was right towards the end and everything there. And so they're like, he's the new Supreme Demon King? Like, just the shocked look on everyone's faces. They're like, what? And from here you get to see Dr. Arensu's like, do you even understand what you're taking, the responsibility that you're taking on? And he's like, of course I do. And then he goes like, Arensu-sama, I choose you to be my Vice Supreme Demon King. Let me take a sip of break here for the water, a sip of water for break. All right, so he's chosen Arensu as his vice president. She's like, oh, what? And he's like, he's a much better judge of character than what she is. And she says, and she's like, you were very ambitious, but have a heart. But at heart, you're not all bad, which is kind of what I figured with Dr. Arensu, that she's probably not going to be a villain. She just kind of seems mysterious and everything. It's just like her brother seemed very mysterious and potentially evil in the beginning of the 25th Tenkaichi Budokai, but of course he ended up being a good guy. Though Dr. Arensu still, though, has some pretty bad ambitions, like wanting to make the demon realm a terrifying place. So I'm not sure how all that really works there, but I guess in the end, yeah, she's not really that bad of a woman, is she? She's got heart there, right? She mentions, and Dr. Majin Ku goes on to mention how she has brains. She has brains and she can plan out powerful weapons, and more importantly, he's like, you made me. And you have Majin just flying and chasing this butterfly in the background, and Majin ends up becoming a minister, and Marba and Neva are chosen too as well, and they're shocked that they're getting this such high power. And he's like, you have knowledge and skill and magic power, and you know about the demon realm. So I mean, Majin Ku, for having been born just recently, I mean, he definitely has quite the brain on him, and smart, and thinking all this out and everything, and he points toward Glorio, says you can be a minister too. So it's cool because Glorio was rescued from Dr. Arensu from the third demon realm, and now he's going to be put in the highest position possible in the first demon realm. So I thought it was a really cool story for him. He's like, for Majin, you have real qualities and good judgment of heart, and he says King Caden will be the minister too and stuff like this. So man, that's just like incredible from there. And he's like, me and stuff like that, man. And I love how you see Majin Du just flying off there in the background and stuff like that. And he's mentioning how, you know, you have courage to come to fight for the demon realm and stuff like that, and it makes it worthy. And he's like, but I'm a Majin from the third demon realm. And he's like, I've never heard of anything like that. And he's like, then you are the first minister from the third demon realm. So man, that's that's pretty cool. Like, I love how King Caden's just, you know, his stock has risen. That's what Majin Ku's doing for these guys, just making their lives a lot better. And so you see Pansy, you know, she's just excited as ever for her father, and you know, he's really been moved up and stuff like that. And Majin Ku lets them know, he's like, you people from the outside world, you know, you've done amazing, and says, is anyone here wants to be a minister? And Goku, I love how he raises his hand basically like he's got a question to say, but he goes like, no, we're going home. Perfect, just absolute perfect way for Son Goku to absolutely respond. So that was really awesome. I'm absolutely loving how he was able to do that for this. So I thought that was fantastic. And so it's from here that we get Goku. He still smiles. He says, okay then, anyone else want to be a minister? And you got Hibiscus or Hibis, and he's like, yes me. Hibis was just one of the funniest characters, I would say, through this entire series for Dragon Ball's Daima. Really absolutely loved him as a character. He was definitely funny. He was a great background character that kept the comedy going. So I'm gonna miss a lot of these new characters, honestly. And so he's like, well then, that concludes my perfect assignments. And so everyone's got their fists in the air and their hands in the air, praising the new Super Demon King Majin Ku. And there you go, you got everybody in the back. I'm not sure how the Zandamari guys fit in this, because I'm like, hey, what they did earlier, some of those guys, what they were doing earlier when they were taking that poor guy, when they were taking that poor guy and putting the whatever that suction tank thing was on his neck, and taking what was little left of his whole thing like that, like, man, that was crazy, and stuff like that, in terms of why they were doing that, with taking his life. So I'm like, man, they got to do something better for that and stuff. In the comments we got Blitz Drake says, so Daima era Goku went to hell, fought demons, turned into a monkey only to lose to base Kaba. I'm not sure where that scenario would come from, but it sounds pretty wild. Thanks for joining the chat. So yeah, and even these little blue characters in the background, it looked like, what is that called? I'm trying to think, what is that called? Man, what is that called? It was called the well, I'm trying to think, what was it called? Like the Grand Priest and stuff like that. Like, I think it was like the Grand Priest. Man, that was something that was really incredible there. So I think that they may be the origins of the Grand Priest, but that was not explained. Got a bit to talk about as far as what's not explained and stuff like that. So Neva's like, wait a minute, hold on a moment. Said he might be actually really good at this job and stuff like that. So there you go. You got Majin Ku going on, basically says, let's work together to make the demon world a scary yet good place to live, Dr. Arensu. And she's like, right. And so there you go. It's like inauguration or something right there. You got Arensu and Majin Ku flying all over the place, and if everybody gives them high praise. And Ku, you know, he's been quite the politician here, like, yeah, you know. Reminds me of like Mr. Satan all the time when he's like, yeah, the champ, yeah. you know, and everything, trying to make sure he looks good and stuff for the cameras and everything. So you have Piccolo there. The new Supreme Demon King is King Ku, and he says no objections here. So I thought that was pretty cool, as you see in the water flowing out of Demon World 2, and we go through the tunnel from Demon Realm 2 into the third Demon Realm back at the castle. All right, I would take a little break here for water. All right, in chat, Blitz Drake says Vegeta is such a leech. Got SSJ without watching a friend die, SSJ3 without going to the other world, and now wants SSJ4. Like, get a job, dude, and stop copying Goku. Vegeta's always one step behind, but he's gotta keep up with Goku to keep up with his power and all that stuff. He also says Ku as Demon King means we'll never get a new adventure there, as he's a good dude. I'm hoping there's still definitely a lot left for more adventures in the demon realm, so hopefully we get to see it. And then Matthew says, sadly I need to get to bed. I'll catch the rest of the review. Keep up the good work, son. Hey Matthew, thanks for joining. I know you enjoyed quite a few of these all throughout episode, all 20 of these over the last 4 to 5 months I was doing it. So yeah, thank you definitely much. I really appreciate it. You have a good one. And then, yes, as we get towards the end of the episode here, you have Gomah being given that Magi light that was promised to her in earlier episodes of Dragon Ball DAIMA. And there you see, she's got all this, and she's got a ton of it. And once again, I just wonder if this is going to come into play very much so when we get to Dragon Ball, whenever Dragon Ball Super comes back and everything. I would love to see that happening. And so from there, she's like, I didn't even need that much, but she's like, he stole that. She took it from Gomah's palace and stuff. So they beat Gomah and stole his riches and all that stuff, and they just started laughing at that. And then there you go, chocolate chip cookies and everything, all for Majin Ku and Do and stuff like that. Oh no, they were getting them. They were like telling them, you eat all this and stuff on the way to the ride, and says, giving them some treats. And there you see they start boarding on with it, and yeah, they start boarding the plane, and oh boy, this is where we get to perhaps the most controversial part of this episode. So Vegeta and Goku are talking, and he's like, blast it, I still say I could have won. And Goku's like, you're still on that? I get it already. He says, I get it already. And he goes like, you mean Super Saiyan? And he's like, you mean Super Saiyan 4? And he's like, Boo was really strong, so I trained a lot after fighting him. And he goes like, I wasn't sure if it would work though. And he's like, it's like a bargain sale of Super Saiyan. So that's really cool, basically the old classic line, because when it was Trunks who transformed into a Super Saiyan for the first time, and then Vegeta was like, it's like a Super Saiyan bargain sale and stuff like that. So yeah, and Goku goes like, but you turned Super Saiyan 3 too. And he's like, shut up, that transformation was and he's like, it's Ultra Vegeta 1. And Goku's like, what the heck is that? Oh man. Ultra yeah, we get Ultra Vegeta 1. And yeah, so this is where I'm gonna have to say, when we look at this scene here and stuff like that, from a continuity standpoint, all right, so like most of you with this, when I heard that Dragon Ball, that I heard basically that this whole scene was, or Dragon Ball Daima was going to be about a year and a half or so after the Majin Buu saga, but like about 3 or 4 years before Battle of Gods. I'm like, okay, a lot of this is going to tie in Dragon Ball into Dragon Ball Super. And obviously there was a lot of things that were planted through here that tied very much into Dragon Ball Super. We saw where Bluma, aka Bulma, where she ended up going on to get her whole like, where she ended up getting, like, you know, wanting to look more younger and everything. We saw that here in Dragon Ball Daima. That really explains very nicely what happened there in Dragon Ball Dragon Ball Super for her to be like that. And we saw more lore regarding like Zeno when they were talking about the Raimas and everything. Just so much more that we learned that really ties nicely into where things are going in Super. You see even Vegeta and Bulma's relationship. But here, this scene doesn't really fall very well into Dragon Ball Super because I mean, as mentioned before, with Vegeta in SS3, we saw how exhausted he was, and perhaps he didn't want to use that in Dragon Ball Super and stuff like that. And then you get to where Goku mentions, I think, was it right here? He was saying as far, yeah, he calls it Super Saiyan 4, aka Super Saiyan 4 officially. And he says that he had been training really hard since his fight with Majin Buu. With that said in mind, if you go to Battle of Gods, he specifically states to Beerus that SS3 is his most powerful form. So you're probably wondering, well, why the heck didn't he bring SS4 out? So it does make things very confusing the way they choose to word things here. And I guess there was some confusion as well, saying he wasn't sure if he was able to pull it off or not. So we get confirmation that Goku, in the year and a half after he fought Kid Buu, he had been working on SS4, and he had been trying to get close to it, but he just couldn't quite reach it. And then it's Neva, through his power, from what we can see visually, Neva was able to unleash the SS4 and awaken it within Son Goku, allowing him to go SS4 for the first time. So got him really close to what he was looking for in terms of that power. Quite a different contrast from what we assume. We assume that, a lot of us assume that, okay, Neva brought out some sort of mutation with his magic that was going to allow Goku to only use this form in the demon realm, which would perfectly explain why in Battle of Gods he didn't use it. So we don't get that. Here, what I would have preferred to have seen and what I would have liked is maybe for their interaction, it would have been nice to see Goku basically be like, I think I'll call that Super Saiyan 4, but as it turns out, I'm only able to use it here in the demon realm because of Neva's powers. That's the only reason why I can do the form, so it's nothing I'll be able to do on my own, unfortunately. And Vegeta, he's talking about, oh, I thought you hid it away from me. He's like, well, at least you went Super Saiyan 3, and then Vegeta could have gone back, speaking of Super Saiyan 3, I'm never using that form again. It uses way too much energy. It's exhausting. I'll find a way to make my Super Saiyan 2 more stronger. Just you wait and see, Kakarot. Which would perfectly then lead right into Battle of Gods. So now we know why Goku's only using SS3, and we see there spelled out for us right there on screen, Vegeta stating he doesn't want to use this form. It uses way too much energy. So that would have definitely perfectly been very well. That being said, that's not how they did it, and as a result, what I'm going to say here in terms of continuity is I just accept Dragon Ball DAIMA as its own continuity. Just the way they ended, there's just no way to really put it in there. Compared to Dragon Ball, there's no way, from what they state here, there's just no way to really tie it in with Dragon Ball Super, at least this moment. And honestly, I think the series is a lot more enjoyable for that. And I'm not one of these people who go in to be like talking about, oh, well, this is canon, so it's good. That's not canon, so it's good. I don't care. I just want to watch Dragon Ball. And if the series is good, whether it was made by Toriyama or not, as long as it's enjoyable, that's basically what I tend to enjoy. And the way this kind of comes off to me, and this is what I'm going to say because it was never stated officially, Akio Yoku, who was Toriyama's right-hand man, the thing about it is, from what he said, he did state that the idea with Dragon Ball DAIMA is that it is a complete it was a sequel to the Majin Buu saga, and a lot of people are trying to, I guess, spin his interview and say, so therefore it doesn't go into Dragon Ball Super's continuity, but they never stated that it doesn't go into Dragon Ball Super's continuity, and unfortunately I wish they would have worded things better. So as far as I'm going to go in terms of the continuity here, until Akio Yoku or Toyotaro, the creators of Dragon Ball, until they come out and say elsewise, or they end up revealing notes that were left behind by Toriyama, if he left any notes behind. Until anything is officially stated by this, I have no choice but to see Dragon Ball Daima as an alternative continuity to the end of Dragon Ball Z in terms of the Majin Buu arc, which is very interesting because if we do take Dragon Ball Super and throw it to the side, this really, and you could tell Toriyama really went back and made sure to link everything up with the Majin Buu saga very nicely within the continuity of Dragon Ball Daima. And it really, in Daima, does not contradict what goes on at the end of Dragon Ball Z / the end of the manga, because we're told there's 10 years of peace. Well, technically this being about a year after they defeat Kid Buu, the Earth was never in danger. Gomah only just turned them into kids. He was trying to prevent them from endangering his version of what he wanted to make the Demon Realm. So there's nothing in Daima that contradicts that. Yeah, they very much could have gone 10 years of peace after this. Bluma, aka Bulma, one of the most talked about ones in Dragon Ball Super, how at the end of Z / the end of the manga, she says she hadn't seen Son Goku in 5 years. Well, clearly that's not the case in Dragon Ball Super's continuity. However, when we look at it from Dragon Ball Daima's continuity, yeah, being that this is still like 9 years before the end of where Goku fights Oob, yeah, maybe it was 5 years before she saw Son Goku. And hey, there was no reason for Goku in that fight with Oob to go SS4, and it's very plausible that, yeah, sure, Goku and Vegeta would be training all that time. Of course, Vegeta would probably reach SS3. Of course, I'm thinking Goku would have mastered SS3 along with Vegeta. And of course, SS4 is something that maybe they could have achieved. So when you look at those type of things, like, yeah, you could really watch the end of the Majin Buu saga and then watch Dragon Ball Daima and then watch the last 3 episodes of Dragon Ball Z or last couple episodes of Dragon Ball Kai, and or just read the last chapters of the manga, and everything perfectly smooths together. There are no continuity issues, and that's why I was saying Dragon Ball Daima feels like its own continuity with that. And that's why I said if you look at it from that standpoint, I think this is so much more enjoyable as an alternative continuity. Now, I doubt they would want Toriyama getting involved on something and stuff like that, but man, that's something that they did. I wish they would have done something a little bit more better with that in terms of making it blend in with Super, but it is what it is. Dragon Ball Daima. I just think they have their different continuities, and I'll say this, by the way. I'll get to the comment section. I am very much live. I'll be reading the comments shortly. I'll say this: when it comes to Dragon Ball Daima, and when it comes to continuity in Dragon Ball, this is the way I view it. You have the original manga that Akira Toriyama made. That is the source of where everything in Dragon Ball comes from. So there's that continuity. Then you have the Dragon Ball anime continuity and the Dragon Ball Z anime continuity, which definitely does faithfully link up very nicely with the original manga. It faithfully retells the manga's events, but it has its own filler and filler scenes as they call it. And Toriyama did get involved with some of those productions in certain episodes. He even included Bardock, the father of Goku, and stuff like that into his manga, and then retconned it for his other version that we see later on in Minus, and then it's brought into Broly. So you have those different ones. So I feel like the anime Dragon Ball and the anime Z, they have their own continuity. Then you have Dragon Ball GT, which is its own continuity in a sequel to Dragon Ball Z. And then from there, we go into the movies, which have their own different continuities. And then you have Dragon Ball Super, which is like another alternative continuity to the Dragon Ball manga and Z stories. And they have their own series. And you have 3 different continuity versions of that, whether it be the movies of Battle of Gods and Resurrection F. And then you also have the manga retellings and then the anime. And then when we get into Dragon Ball Super, there are 2 continuities with that in terms of the anime, in terms of the manga. And then you have Dragon Ball Daima here, which tells its own continuity, apparently, as it kind of just pretty much forgets Super within this scene with Goku and Vegeta. And so I go from there to say that, you know, if you just don't get so caught up into the whole continuity and you just kind of see that these are like different continuities and stories, and some are alternative stories, some will loosely follow, others won't, I think it'll be okay, honestly. It'll be so much more enjoyable. And this scene is the reason why I am telling a lot of my friends who are waiting on for the English dub to finish so they can binge watch it. I told them, I'm like, go into Dragon Ball Daima and seeing it as an alternative continuity and to compare to Dragon Ball Super, and you will enjoy it so much more. And I think that's a good approach to take for continuity for a lot of people. Yeah, just don't get too caught up in the continuity of Dragon Ball Super. I know us fans want to really feel it in terms of seeing, okay, this happened here, and so now it goes ahead and has consequences here. But unfortunately, from what I hear, they might not feel the same way in Japan, apparently. Shout out to Geeta 101, who always says there is no canon in Dragon Ball and stuff like that. And that's why he says it, because there's just too many different continuities. But if you enjoy Dragon Ball for what it is, there you go. So that's my take on it, and this is the reason why I'm not mad at this and everything. I just kind of took it as, okay, Dragon Ball Daima is its own alternate continuity until the creators themselves or those who were involved with Toriyama come out and state otherwise. I'll just take this as its own separate continuity. Getting to the chat here, we had quite a few chats, so let me read through here what was said. Let's see. Blitz Drake says, Goku really said, what are those? Pretty much. Blitz Drake also says, Pansy greater than Gotenks. You like Pansy better than Gotenks as a character? Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, Gotenks is really awesome as a fighter, but Pansy does have quite a fun personality and turned out to be more useful than Gotenks was in the Buu Saga for sure. Also, he says, demons live for millions of years, but Degasu and Gomah were only trapped for 99 years, so they'll box with Goku and Vegeta Jr. pretty much. Let's see what else. He says, Daima isn't canon. It even disagrees with the Z manga, as Degasu tells Shin it's been 1,000 years since he left, but in Z manga, he was a Kai millions of years ago when Buu attacked. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I see it as an alternative continuity there. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of got to separate them and everything from it. And it says, but how wouldn't at least be, or how wouldn't it be at least a reference? Yeah, there was definitely a lot of references for sure throughout the series that you saw they put into Dragon Ball Daima, and I hope that a lot of this gets referenced later in future projects if Toyotaro continues Dragon Ball Super. Also, Battle of Gods is a Z movie, not a Super movie, so it's more canon than Daima, as it's entirely written by Toriyama alone. Yeah, that's what goes back to what I was saying, multiple continuities within Battle of Gods. You have the Dragon Ball Z movie version of Battle of Gods, then you have the Dragon Ball Super anime version of Battle of Gods, and then the Dragon Ball Super version of the manga. And honestly, if you see it as that way, all three will be hopefully much more enjoyable, though honestly I thought the movie was better because it's straight to the point. And everything. Buffs, thanks for joining chat, says the worst case scenario, if not, we get a Beerus versus Goku again and he suddenly remembers I'm praying. It's not canon. The worst case scenario, if now Beerus versus Goku again and he just suddenly remembers. Yeah, I don't know if they're gonna change on that and stuff like that. Buff says agreed. That must be on how it's talking about with the continuity and everything too here. Here, I'll bring up the chat so you all can see while I'm reading along here. And stuff like that. Actually, no, I'll keep reading on here because I'll bring up those later on. But let's see what says Lord Goku says, I have not watched it and yet. Oh, well, I hope you do enjoy it once you do. Blitz Drake says, Bulma was his childhood friend. Why wouldn't she visit Goku or Chi-Chi in 5 years, especially when Goten and Trunks are best of friends? Never made any sense. I'm guessing for the same reason that it was 5 years they didn't see each other from when Goku and Chi-Chi got married. They have that when the manga does the time skip, there's a 5 year time skip. I'm guessing for that same reason. But yeah, you would think with their kids and stuff basically being best of friends, they would probably see each other more often. Well, hey, maybe Goten sees Trunks a lot. Goku doesn't come by and visit and stuff like that. Blitztrace says only canon continuity is the BoJack movie, as it has the best design for Trunks. Yes, I love that design for Trunks. Absolutely, I love that design for Trunks. That's awesome. I do love that design. BoJack actually, yeah, does, out of probably any other movie, it does fit very well. You can definitely see that fitting very well into after they defeated Cell within that 7-year time skip and stuff. Buff says he meant SS4. Let's see, and all that stuff and everything. So yeah, let's get back to the finishing the story here, and things like that. So yeah, I mean, that, like I said, that's how I'm taking it all with the continuity. So we end up getting Dente and Piccolo here with Neva, and you're asking if you're going to consider living here, and said how comfortable it is. And Dente's like, yeah, I gotta take care of the earth. And Piccolo's like, yeah, me too, pretty much. Honestly, I think the Nameks probably live very boring lives. Have you guys? I mean, Namek looks like a beautiful place to visit and get some sightseeing, but what do you do? Oh, we just plant flowers and drink water and run around and play and fly from island to island. That's about it. Yeah. Nice place to visit, but not where I would want to stay. Clearly, Dende and Piccolo are loving that earthling living. Because they'll say they're going to ask other Namekians who lost on planet Namek and have been reduced to normals. Normals and stuff like that, says I'm sure they'll welcome the idea. And he's like, oh, I see, yeah, what a wonderful idea. So I don't know if the Namekians are going to come over for that and stuff like that, and things of that nature. And so from there, we end up getting Pansy, who's basically like, you're ready to go, Goku? And so they're all ready. They're taking one last look at the demon realm. They also mentioned that since the tunnel's been open and pushing, it took all that gas out and the air is lighter and stuff. As we remember, that was the thing, that the third demon realm was really hard to navigate and everything. So they really have, as you look at it, they just made life so much better. I'm guessing people are they're now able to freely travel between the demon realms. So they just, as King Caden said, they made it a much better place and everything. And you could say, that's the story. Goku always making it better for everybody eventually and stuff like that. And they're like, let's go home and everything. And so Gomah's in the ship, and Glorio's in the ship, and we don't have to worry about Glorio now trying to break down things and stuff like that. So that's good, because they kept using that trope all over through all of Daima, as he was intentionally trying to hold them back longer. And so we see the ship goes up there, and you see Goku, he's waving back all at him, and everyone's waving stuff, happy to see him. And he says, if things get hairy, come save us. So gonna rely on Son Goku, and Goku's like, sure, you got it. And as the ship takes off and everyone's waving back, we get one of the best scenes right here. I love it. He still has that hat, by the way. And hey, Neva didn't turn out to be such a bad guy after all, because I was thinking he was evil in the beginning, but he wasn't, thankfully. And as everyone says goodbye, you get Pansy in the back, and she's just like yanking on Vegeta's arm, and Vegeta's like, I'm so tired of this place, let's just get going. Like, he's had enough of the demon realm. So man, that was interesting and stuff like that. And so we get the scene as everybody flies back, and Goku's like, yeah, see ya. And they all end up flying off into the distance. And there you go. It ends right there, saying Akira Toriyama, original work, story and character designs by Akira Toriyama. Rest in peace to the late great Akira Toriyama. And I really love these ending shots we get here in the credit rolls and stuff like that. In the chat, Grand Zeno is God from Chiki Zeo. Grand Zeno, yeah, pretty much. He is the god of all gods in Dragon Ball for sure. Buff says, hard Glorio fan here. The lighting episode should have been more explored. Yeah, I love all these new characters. Definitely, all these new characters were just absolutely great. Vegeta is a freak, daily baths Gomah. What a gooner. Hey, nothing wrong. The man, like I said in the previous episode, the man enjoys his wife, and ain't nothing wrong with that. So we see what becomes of everybody here. Looks like Tamagami 3 is getting served something to eat, because I mean, like, yeah, what is he guarding there? I don't know if the Dragon Ball is back there. We're seeing Tamagami 2 is flying with the Karakens and stuff. Tamagami 1, basically, I don't know, has he been in charge of the Zandamarri now? And you see Muten Roshi, aka Master Roshi. He is completely looking at himself right there. Completely looking at himself right there, that he's been brought back to being an old geezer now. He thought he was gonna get all the ladies. Like I said, boy, sit down. You're a little kid. You ain't getting nothing. You even see the Ox King back there, Chi-Chi's father, back to normal. And then you see everybody. So I'm guessing, because Dragon Ball DAIMA took place over the course of a week, everybody just stayed chilling at Bluma's house. So there you see Kudin's got his, aka Krillin. He's got his hair back. Marin's back to being a little girl again after being reduced to a baby. You see Lazui, aka Juhachiko slash Android 18. She's back to normal. Mr. Saiden, B, poor Yamucha back. Didn't Yamucha get longer hair? So I guess he lost his long locks. They never really explained that. We got Fat Boo. By the way, I love that Fat Boo's tongue is blue, just like in the manga, so that's really cool. They stay true. You got Chi-Chi here, who they don't have a dishwasher, so she's washing manually her dishes. I like that she had the little step ladder there, and then she's like, oh snap, now I need to get down from this. So that was really cool. It's so weird still seeing Mr. Popo without his turban and everything, and there's Kibito and stuff like that from there. And from here we end up getting Goten and Trunks. I know some people were making talk about they can fly, yet they enjoy riding on skateboard, so I guess it is what it is. Man, alrighty. And then we get, there's Degasu and Degasu right there, and Gomah still in that jar, and we get to see what the inside looks like. And yeah, he is bored out of their mind. This is what their life is going to be like for the next 99 years. I love that they're playing video games. Like, I mean, ain't so bad. They gave him a little bit of a break in there, hooked him up with some TV and some games. This is totally from I think Toriyama did a cool illustration where Goku and Vegeta was playing Nintendo and stuff like that, so that was cool to see. And we end up having where they fly off here and stuff like that, chewing in on, you got what's her name, Pansy chewing on some of those potato chips. I guess the Zandamarri guys got it. And you have Goku say, Minister Glorio, and he's like, what? And he's like, let's go ahead and get some of those meta bugs again. We need to stop by because we're all out of sensu beans and stuff like that. And Glorio's like, yeah, I suppose. And like I said, things that do sync up with Dragon Ball Super when it comes to Daima is we see Bluma, aka Boma now, she sees how she looks basically in the mirror and realizes, oh, okay, now she doesn't have that youthful skin anymore, and this is most likely what created her obsession, and she closes her mirror down. Before we get to this ending scene, which was greatly animated, I'm gonna take a break here. All right, let's check out some of the chats and see what we got here. Blitz Drake, we see the other universes, Kai's and Daima, same designs as in Super. Yeah, I like the Kai designs, honestly. They're really cool. I really enjoyed it, going back to that flashback of how Kid Buu ended up becoming the big muscle Buu and stuff like that, and everything. It's why I was so disappointed with Degasu. He had a cool design and a less cooler story. At least Dr. Arensu turned out to be a really cool character. Let's see, Blitz also says says really liked Daima as an adventure side story, but I just don't feel it fits in the canon story if we get if we get canon story that branches from this world. Yeah, that ending scene with Goku and Vegeta, they made it really hard to make it fit in terms of make it hard fit within like I said, Dragon Ball Super and stuff like that. And I know you brought up some examples in the manga and everything. So like I said, Dragon Ball Daima is like an alternative story, side story or something like that. I think fits really well until they come out and link all this stuff up together. If they ever do, we don't know if they ever will. He also say Piccolo here says Piccolo is made of Piccolo Jr., Kami, and Nell, all three shown speaking Namekian in the manga, yet I'm supposed to accept he forgot his language in Daima. Hate to see a brother deny his roots at SonGoshuaku. Yeah. Yeah, he was talking Namekian in the 23rd Tenkaichi Budokai, and it's like, yeah, he was speaking it that far, and he said he said he forgot. Yet, how far back does his roots go? Even further than Kami? Like, come on. But you know what? That's in line. Toriyama, God bless his soul, he tend to forget a lot of stuff, and he probably made his character forget as well, and everything. Fraud Han didn't appear as he knew he'd get boxed by Tamagami 3. Fraud Han. So you are not a Gohan fan. Man, if you check out some of my other content on here, my guy Linux cannot stand Gohan, so I think y'all would get along really well. I would have loved to seen, as a Gohan fan, I would have loved to seen Gohan in this series, but man, they did not even show him one bit. Didn't even show us one little image of maybe him and Videl being like shocked, like, oh, we're back. Like, wow, like it's like he was completely forgotten about here. Almost. Sorry, I didn't mean to spam there. No, you're good. I appreciate you keeping up the engagement in the chat. Degasu pulled a Glock to fight post-Boo arc. Nah, get this red ribbon army. Villain out of here. Yeah, pretty much. Oh my gosh, yeah, I remember that. Gohan's only legit solo W is getting Videl. I always said he's winning and stuff. I did like his fight, obviously, with the Cell and SS2 mode and him beating up Super Boo, but then he just didn't learn his lesson. Gohan never learns his lesson when he gets the power, unfortunately. At least in Beast mode, he took care of business with Dragon Ball Super. But yeah, dude, you shoot, my boy Linux would like you. You were talking his language, man. He can't stand Gohan, even going back to when he was 9 years old at SS2. So I want to give huge shout out right here. So this ending animated scene right here, let me get it up here in my notes. What do we got here? In my notes here, we got, who was it? So the ending animation for this, for Dragon Ball Daima's post-credit scene here, was handled by Takashi Kojima. Man, this is some of the most fluent animation there's ever been in Dragon Ball. So they go back to the shop here, and you see Ku and Do right there. Overall, they are basically in the newspapers everywhere, and the lady's like, "Oh, welcome," and they walk in. Just the shading and the fluent animation was just absolutely on point here. And Goku's like, "Hey, lady," being inappropriate as always, and not like Miss. She's like, "Hey, lady, you lady," and she's like, and she's like, "Oh, it's you and you." And she's like, "Wait, aren't you the kids from the other day? The mega bug that got the meta bugs the other day?" And Goku's like, "Yeah, they really helped us a lot." And she says, "You've really grown." He says, "Was it a side effect?" I loved it. That was great. She's thinking like, "Oh, dude, these kids, they really blown up. Give a whole meaning that they grew up so fast, right?" And so I love right here, Goku, they're picking up more of these bugs, and he's got the lizard and all that stuff. And he's like, "No, that's not it at all." And so Bloom was like, "So pretty." And then she sees that it's a bug, and it starts moving or something, I think. And like I said, the animation was so fluent right here. She's looking and she's like, oh, it's disgusting. And then she starts freaking out. And just look at these shots. Look at how fluent the animation is. Like from the clothes moving, the hair. She just gets completely flustered, throws it, and it goes back into the jar there. And the way she just starts like creeping away and stuff. Like, man, that was really cool animation. And so she's like, yeah, these meta bugs, they definitely work. And she's like, this one, you know, is good for burns, and this one's good for skin, and they're beauty bugs, I think she calls them. And Bloom was like, wait a minute, what did you say? She's like, yeah, they're beauty bugs. They de-age you by 10 years. And she's like, what? Look at just look how lit up she is. She doesn't care if they're disgusting and stuff like that anymore. And she's like, oh, like I said, the animation was crazy good, very fluent here. It gets really Looney Tune cartoony, like she's like, oh. Oh my gosh. And she is just lit up, and she's like, oh, right here she jumps down and she's like, I'll take them all and stuff. So like I said, this is one thing that does lead into a lot where we are getting with Super and everything. And so you get here, Pansy, she finds something. She's like, huh, and she's looking over. And from here, she's like, what is this? So she goes to investigate, and Goku's even like, huh? Oh, yeah, what you got there? And so she blows the dust off, and from here, she looks in, and she's like, lady, are these? And we see it. She's like, are these the Turgid Oculus, the aka the evil third eye? And there's two of them. And Goku's like, what? And from there, even Bluma, she's trying to, you know, pay for this. She's like, it couldn't be. And so the lady, she ends up explaining how that you put it on your forehead and it gives you tremendous strength. And Bluma, aka Boma, she's got to run over there too. And she's like, I had 3 of them, but someone came by who was really suspicious a long time, decided to buy one. So apparently this is where Abura, aka Dabura, aka Deborah's father, ended up got it before right here at this store, and said they're extremely pricey, and she only managed to sell one a long time ago. And she says, if you want one, I'll give it to you for a discount. So the eye moves towards there, looks right at them, and they're like, ah, because they do not want to go through that again to face that third eye. I mean, look how it can take the weakest person and turn them into an unstoppable person that keeps getting more and more power. And from there, we get the end. And that's where it all ends. And, yeah, you know, they got us good with those fusion bugs. Because they did not utilize those fusion bugs. Because I figured, okay, maybe we're not going to get a fusion of Goku and Vegeta, but at the very least, they're probably going to make it a gag where, hey, maybe East Kaishin's going to eat the bug, and he forgets that it's a fusion bug, and he's like, here, you want some, Kibito? And Kibito would eat it, and it would fuse them back into their Protaro earring fusion, Kibito Shin, just because it's from the demon realm. And from there, they're going to try and get absorbed by Fat Boo, and Fat Boo can't dissolve them, and thus lining up with Super. That's why they had to get the Dragon Balls to split them. But no, they stayed split. They didn't show us, and they don't mention anything. So once again, like I said, with Dragon Ball Daima, gotta take it as its own continuity, because oh man, you just got to. Let me go through some of the chat messages right here. Go Blitz Drake says Gohan's only legit solo, yeah, you said, was getting Videl. Even in Superhero, he was carried by Piccolo. Well, yeah, it was meant. Kiyoyoku mentioned that Toriyama totally meant it to be a Piccolo film, but he saw how popular Gohan was among the fan base, and so he convinced Toriyama to go ahead and put it in there. I actually talk more about that in an upcoming Dragon Ball superhero review that we recorded last year. I'm gonna be, once I get around to editing it, I'll actually go more in depth about it there. Dabura the fraud could have brought these two instead and of betraying his dead. I don't know how many people knew it was there. That was something interesting there. Blitzdrake says, serious question. Why was my boy Gomah jailed? Degasu kidnapped Dende, not him. Adensu said to make everyone kids, not him. Goku invaded his castle. He was defending himself. Well, he treated a lot of the people like dirt in the demon realm. So I mean, like that poor old guy in the beginning, if you didn't have enough, like he treated the poor terribly. But like I said, for me, I'm more so, how did Arensu and Marba have the authority to do that? I like yeah. Oh man, that was something interesting. Yeah, that by the way, that ending there, total Toriyama, the way he would do that. This was interesting. This was played up as either a gag, or maybe Toriyama, before his untimely passing, maybe he actually meant this to be something that could come back later on in the series. Like, I almost wonder what happened with these third eyes. Is it going to be picked up by Toyotaro, where you could totally take these and use it for a future villain in the series? Imagine Black Frieza, for those of you that are following the manga, the Dragon Ball Super manga, if they bring that back. So it's interesting where this could have gone, but like I said, we don't know unless Toriyama left behind notes and everything and stuff like that. He also, Blitz says in the chat, it's the demon realm being mean isn't a crime. Demon realm being mean. Yeah, I mean, they definitely got some. I mean, even Dr. Arensu's kind of is a shady character, but yet she gets to freely go about her business there, isn't she? Oh man. So all right, I'm gonna just talk to you guys now that the recaps are over here. In terms of Dragon Ball Daima, overall, what did I think about it as a series? I thought it was fun. I enjoyed it. It truly felt like Toriyama. It had everything. I think if you're a fan of all aspects of Dragon Ball and you're a fan of Toriyama Akira's work, this series had it all. It had the gags, it had the comedy, it had the adventure, it had the epic fighting, the epic transformation moments. It truly felt like everything that makes Dragon Ball what it is, it was put in here. And you had so many references to the entire Dragon Ball franchise, the 40th anniversary special. So I really enjoyed it. And like I said, I kind of see it as its own continuity, separate from Dragon Ball Super, which makes it more enjoyable. So I'm not thinking about how it ties into Super, and just looking at it as the series itself. If you do try to do the Dragon Ball Super series and try to and turn it into something that does get more confusing, and that's where it can be very frustrating. So that's why I would recommend, don't go into it trying to link it up to Dragon Ball Super until we get notes from Akira Toriyama that he left behind, or Akira Yoku comes out to say something in an interview, or Toyotaro makes something within the continuation of Dragon Ball Super that kind of explains and piece these things together. But on its own, separately, I like Dragon Ball Daima, definitely, which is ironically what I said about Dragon Ball GT. I don't like it nearly nowhere near as much as Dragon Ball Z, and even to a lower extent Dragon Ball Super. But nonetheless, I do enjoy the series though overall. So I did have a blast with Daima. The series though did have, I think, some pacing issues where you only had 20 episodes, and I don't think they utilize all 20 episodes as best as they could. Was it episode 13 where they had the big giants? Though I enjoyed that episode and it was fun, and it definitely had some of that Toriyama adventure to it, and it paid tribute to the scene in GT when they had the giants. When we were coming up close towards the end of the Dragon Ball series, it's kind of like one of those things where does it really sort of makes sense to spend all your time here when we only got so many episodes left to tell the grand final battle. And even when you get to the Demon Round 1, I felt like so much time was wasted on that episode. Was it like 14 and 15 where they're going SS1 and it's taking them forever to basically go through and beat these guys, when you know, okay, you just power up and get it done with and be done right there. We can be getting to the final battle there. So it's like, yeah, like I said, I kind of thought the villains Degasu and Gomah, they weren't that really Degasu, I didn't find I wanted Degasu to be more compelling as a villain, but I don't think he ended up being there. Gomah was hilarious and stuff. I don't think he was a boring villain or anything like that. Especially he was kind of like tribute to Emperor Pilaf mixed with Bobbity. But my thing is, I do wish we would have gotten more from Gomah's power before the third eye. Other than that, though, as a villain, he was really stupid, and he was designed to be stupid. But yeah, he's not gonna go down as one of the most iconic villains in the entire franchise, that's for sure. But the fight will be even the big final finale fight. As good as the animation was, I don't think it was on the level of Goku versus Jiren or Goku or Gogeta versus Broly, because those were more big back and forth epic battles. The choreography, I thought it could have been a little bit more. This more felt like Goku at SS4 just going ham, but I thought it was one of the best moments of Goku going all out fighting. Was definitely amazing on that time. But yeah, overall though, I did enjoy Dragon Ball DAIMA. I think it's a much better binge watch. I definitely plan with the English dub once they're done in May to go back and watch it in a binge style to see just how much better the whole series is when you're able to watch it one episode after the other and stuff, instead of like 1 week and stuff. So yeah, but overall, I'll definitely do a more full review, hopefully with my friends when they're done watching Dragon Ball DAIMA, so we can get more in-depth thoughts. But just overall final thoughts, I thought Dragon Ball DAIMA was a great show, the best animated series of any Dragon Ball series, and it's fun. I think it's a fun, nice alternative Dragon Ball post Majin Buu story, basically, that's different than Super, and it's enjoyable. Could have been used. I think they could have used their time a little bit better, and that's dependent. Toriyama wrote the story, he did the character designs, and then the animators had to take that. The animators did their thing, but the writers had to take that of the show and try to put it all together. So did they do that effectively based on Toriyama's story? Who knows? I know Toriyama supervised some of the early episodes, but unfortunately the show was still in production when he did pass away. And I think that's the really sad thing about this, is that Toriyama didn't get to see it himself, and he was so involved. He was more involved in this than any other Dragon Ball anime series ever. So it is unfortunate that he didn't get to see it, but I hope his spirit can see that, despite ups and downs, I think for the most part fans did enjoy it. I mean, Dragon Ball DAIMA still was a huge success, and they're going to sell a ton of merchandise for sure on it. So it definitely brought success to the Dragon Ball series even in 2024/2025. And one thing that it goes, I think Toriyama, writing wise, was the best, going back to the OG stuff, Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, the manga. That was, I think, hands down like his best work and stuff, especially when he had the editors to push him. But when it comes to the series overall, I was gonna say, when it comes to Daima, his creativity, that's the biggest thing. And this is what I've always said about Toriyama's work, even with there's some plot holes and inconsistencies. The creativity of Toriyama is fantastic, and I think it's one of the reasons why so many people gravitate to Dragon Ball, and many fans like myself that are hardcore fans, as much as we love the Dragon Ball series, there are things where we can overlook it just because Toriyama's creativity is just so amazing. Like it's truly amazing, his creativity. And I hope moving forward with Dragon Ball, as Toyotaro, who was his successor now, if he continues Dragon Ball Super, I'm really hoping that Toyotaro is able to really keep the spirit of Toriyama's creativity alive in Dragon Ball moving forward. And we'll see what happens with Dragon Ball moving forward, because they really haven't said anything over the last year and stuff like that. I know in the manga they did like another prequel and stuff like that. So yeah. And I also want to say, before I get to the chat, reading the chat here before we close out the stream is that thank you all so much who have been on this journey of me reviewing the Dragon Ball DAIMA episodes. It took sometimes, especially on these long action episodes, days, a day or two sometimes to get all nearly 1,000 something screenshots together and putting that over all together and stuff like that. But Dragon Ball DAIMA has been a huge success for my YouTube channel. When I started Dragon Ball DAIMA, the first episode review, I was like a little over 5,000, just hit over 5,000 subscribers, and now I'm almost 7,000 subscribers, and that's from the streams and cutting up the streams and putting them into individual long form videos, and then taking these and putting them into individual YouTube shorts that were like sometimes 50 to 80 something individual shorts. Like, the whole Dragon Ball DAIMA content has really helped grow my channel, and I definitely have more Dragon Ball content to come, because yeah, I love this series, and I want to continue basically showing my respect and to Akira Toriyama's legacy, and sharing that with all of you fellow Dragon Ball fans out there. So let's go over to the chat before we wrap up. I'm going to take another water break. Someone in the chat said needed my water breaks. Yeah, Blitz said SonGoshuaku taking water breaks to become Water Vegeta. I remember hearing about that meme. Speaking of which, yeah, in addition to thanking you all for watching the Dragon Ball DAIMA content, I will still even have more, not just Dragon Ball content, but more Dragon Ball DAIMA content, like character breakdowns. I'm gonna take a look at and stuff, and like I said, more reviews, so more to talk about that in rankings. All right, so let's head over to the chat. Alrighty, so Blitz, thank you. You've been really awesome engaging in the chat, by the way, all night, going here into midnight. Yeah, really appreciate you sticking around. Let's see what we said here. The ship broke 1,000,000 times. We wasted an entire episode on father soldiers, and half an episode on Goku searching for toilets. Yeah, there were certain things where I'm like, you got 20 episodes here. Is this important? Like, I think there was one episode where I called the villains the Big Bird Reject and the Big Smurf that couldn't, and it was like 5 minutes of Goku struggling in base form to catch these guys, and I'm like, okay, why are we spending so much time? And they never came back, and that's the sad thing. Like, even that giant episode, I remember in like episode 13, they spend some time where Neva, he is talking about literally how there are characters who are there were giants that were even bigger than the ones we saw, and they're even more devastating. And I'm like, okay, are they going to come out in the final battle to help? Then that makes it more justified. But you end up dropping all this and nothing ever came from it in Daima. So it's like, yeah. Now granted, maybe Toyotaro will use this in future Dragon Ball projects, or in Dragon Ball Super manga if he continues on with that, and hopefully maybe that'll be brought up. So I mean, that's the nice thing, is Dragon Ball DAIMA did open the possibility for a lot there. And yeah, they did kept going to that whole ship break thing, but we knew it was obvious Glorio to stall for time. That involved in 15 episodes of mid and stuff like that. Well, like episode 15 and stuff. Yeah. Let's see. Let's see. Imagine Yujiro Hanama with the third eye. Frieza would weep. Let me see. Do I know that character? Let me see. So this is from Baki. Yeah, I haven't seen all of Baki, but wow, okay. You know what? Honestly, we see what that third eye can do. Yeah, that third eye is crazy what it can do to weakling characters, man. So yeah, imagine if Emperor Pilaf got the third eye. Like, wow. Let me see what we got here. See, you watch TC says you watch DBZ, and I only asked to see how much of a fan you truly are. No, I do not watch DBZ hentai. Oh man, I go and watch all the Dragon Ball stuff, basically like on Kaizenshu and everything, to read up on like what Toriyama said in interviews, and also like Team 4-Star, Kaiser Neko, Geekdom 101. Totally not Mark. A lot of the Dragon Ball content creators, but no, that's not my type of Dragon Ball. But by all means, anyone that enjoys that type of Dragon Ball, hey, I'm not gonna tell you how to enjoy Dragon Ball. You do you out there. And overall, Blitz Drake says, great stream. Hey, thank you so much. But yeah, that pretty much wraps things up. TC, he's a phony. Get him, guys. Hey, no hate here. Like I said, you all enjoy Dragon Ball the way you want to and stuff. But hey, thank you for coming by to chat, TC, Blitz, and everybody else. It has been a blast doing these Dragon Ball DAIMA streams, and more Dragon Ball streams definitely to come. That being said, you can watch more of my Dragon Ball content right there on the screen, as well as make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, as followed by hitting the notification bell so that you are notified when more Dragon Ball content is released. Until next time, guys, take care.